Let's talk about Todd Monkin. And last time we spoke, I think we knew about the Buccaneers interview. Since then, maybe we didn't. I don't even remember. Maybe it was speculated. What we do know now, though, is the reports that Monken's interviewed with the Ravens and with the Bucs. I think one of those jobs may be slightly more desirable, but I don't know if either one of them is ultimately the thing that's going to lure him away from Georgia permanently. But you got to take the interview.
Well, it sounds like from, just kind of piecing stuff together, the Ravens process might last a while. Because they've requested permission to interview a guy that's coaching right now, Eric Bieniemy, as offensive coordinator, and he would be the play caller there. I don't think he actually calls plays in Kansas City. I think Andy Reid does that. I really still don't see Todd Monkin taking the Tampa job, and honestly, just from, again, piecing information together, the timing of it, that job's been open for a little while. I know he was speculated to begin with. It sounds to me like, again, putting some things in. I think they had to kind of sell him on coming and interviewing for that job. I think he's wanted for that job. I don't necessarily know how much he wants it. They're going to have a chance to impress him, though, and kind of sell them on their vision. He may have a chance to, I don't think a lot of this is him having to sell himself. I think he could get a job if he really wanted a job. I think this is kind of, basically letting the process play out for him. And, if it comes down to money, I think Georgia's going to be able to handle that. But we'll get into kind of more of a hot board thing and all that stuff. My phone was blowing up asking about Mike Bobo this weekend. Mike Bobo, guys, let me tell you something. If you wanted Buster Faulkner and Georgia wanted Buster Faulkner before, Buster Faulkner's going to be back at Georgia. Okay, if Todd Monkin leaves, Buster Faulkner will come right back. He probably is wearing a Georgia polo under the Georgia Tech polo that he's wearing right now, just so he can be ready for it and get there. He's gonna flip his belt over. It'll be a Georgia belt. It'll be the one like Murray Poole used to wear. If Georgia wanted Buster Faulkner to be his offensive coordinator, it'd be that guy. I mean, they did it with Trey Scott. They did it with Brian McClendon. They did it with Chidera Uzo-Uribe. They're gonna get a guy that's been hired somebody else if that's who they want. So let's don't get in the doldrums and be less productive and maybe get in trouble at work tomorrow because you're really worried about Mike Bobo becoming the offensive coordinator. They'll get who they wanted.
Would it be the worst thing though if hypothetically Bobo was the guy?
Not in my opinion, but I've already told somebody I wouldn't go on a rant about that. So.
Oh, okay. Did you tell him that?
Bobo?
Yeah.
No, I didn't tell Bobo that. But I think Mike Bobo is a good offensive coordinator. And I think if you look back and you think, okay, well, he did some good things at Colorado State. He had a bad year at Auburn. He had a bad year at South Carolina. Both of those head coaches got let go. There was talent problems at both of those schools. Mike Bobo without a passing game, with one fifth-round pick in his starting five on the offensive line, no first-round receivers. Now, he had a bevy of running backs. Now, he had a Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb, and a little bit of Sony Michel because Michel was hurt a lot that year. He had some ballers at running back, but that's pretty much the only talent he had. He had Hudson Mason at quarterback, and they averaged almost 42 points a game. So I think he's a good OC. Trust Kirby. He made the one-year mistake with James Coley, and that's pretty much been it because Jim Chaney did a good job. Obviously, Todd Monken's done a good job. So I don't think Georgia fans need to worry too much yet about Todd Monken leaving. And then if he does, they'll get who they want. If Georgia Tech taking Buster Faulkner to the 404 did not ruin anything. He will leave from right over there where they Cartoon Network, right across the street from Cartoon Network, and come right back to Athens in a heartbeat.
Police escort up 316, just doing 95, pedal to the floor, man. But
I've heard he's not a big Adult Swim fan anyway. So.
No, yeah,
he probably still has his place in Athens. I don't know if he's even sold it.
Who knows? Yeah, sure. I think too. Listen, Mike Bobo is not Brian Schottenheimer. Okay. I think we can all agree on that. I think that it's
Mike Bobo left the program and it fell apart.
that's what I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, Mike Bobo left and everything. I mean, it led you to here. So ultimately, I guess that was a net positive to some degree. But yes, the wheels kind of came off.
That's a really great just line in the sand to look back at and appreciate what happened after he left and before he.
Bruce, do you remember
left.
that? Do you remember us standing like we were talking face to face, and I said, "Hey, I think Bobo's gone." And he goes, "Yeah." And he said, "What do you think about that?" And I said, "I don't know. I feel like the program's falling apart." Because he kind of, listen, Mark Richt doesn't get it back on track and to the extent that he did and get back to another couple of SEC championship games without Mike Bobo. Because Bobo ran the program a lot. I think when Rick was struggling with his own health and struggling with his personal life there, with his wife being also ill. So, I mean, Mike Bobo held a lot of that together. Again, I still don't even know if he'd be the OC.
Right.
But he's a good coach.
No, exactly. That's the thing. Is like we're being very presumptive. And I get, people probably to some degree are rightfully assuming those things because you bring Will Muschamp back, right? So it's like the boys are back in town. Everybody's coming back and everybody's getting to hang out. You get a job. Hey, let's get all my friends hooked up. But
let's go downtown tonight.
I think it's a fool's errand to assume that Kirby is just automatically going to default to turn.
Oh yeah, that's not going to be the case at all.
Yeah. I think that, but I think a lot of people are assuming that's going to happen, and I just can't see that. I mean, you've got on your own staff, right? You've got Brian McClendon, OC experience. You've got Del McGee, who's had some experience. He was the head coach of Georgia Southern for a game. I mean, you've got guys out there too that are available, and there's not a lot of jobs as desirable as Georgia, NFL or college, in terms of stability, in terms of talent, in terms of the direction. So you're going to have your pick of the litter. Could it be Mike Bobo? Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like Jake's saying, I think I'm not ready to, I don't think Todd Monkin, I don't think that the worry's there just yet.
I'm not saying bye to him yet.
No, the Ravens and the Bucks are not good jobs right now in my
Cowboys just opened up theoretically with Kellen Moore leaving, but McCarthy will probably call the plays there.
Exactly.
So,
and I mean,
I don't think you're worried about that.
Lamar Jackson probably gone out of Baltimore. You've got no stability in Tampa Bay. You're probably going to be in the job market in the next year or two if you go to either of those jobs. I mean, the Harbaugh era, how much longer will it continue? During a rebuild, which is essentially if you lose Lamar Jackson, that's what's going to happen in Baltimore.
Well, and not to mention the Ravens, who were for a long time the cream of the crop in that division alongside the Steelers, they suddenly have dropped down. I mean, they made the playoffs this year, but they are not the number one team in that division at all. I mean, we're watching it right now with Cincinnati in the AFC Championship game for a second straight year, and they've got
you want to go try to outscore Joe Burrow?
Exactly. Greg Roman stepped down from doing that. He didn't want to. And Bruce, you said it well. There aren't many jobs, college or pro, better than Georgia right now. Georgia is a really good job, and it's going to take a really, really good job to lure Todd out of Athens. The stability is the biggest thing to me because he's been in the NFL. He's seen what instability in the NFL looks like, and he knows how secure his status is in Athens with what he's doing. He doesn't have to recruit a ton. He recruits a position that you only take one, maybe two quarterbacks a cycle. You're only recruiting a handful of guys overall, over the course of several classes. And, all you've got to do, he said it best, he gets paid to score points. He doesn't get paid to recruit super well. He doesn't get paid to be the face of the program. He gets paid to score points, and he's done that very well.
And like Jake said, too, the money I don't think is going to be any issue for Georgia. So the only reason that Todd Monkin leaves, in my opinion, and this is something that you just kind of have to accept, is he's got something to prove to himself. He wants to go back to the NFL ranks and show that he can do it. And he was there and, hey, yeah, I want to run a pro offense and I want to put my spin on it. And that's to some degree understandable if that's the mode and the mindset that he's in. But otherwise, there's not a lot of lure that I can think of for him to move beyond where he is currently, personally.
Yeah, he's got a good gig, and it makes me hate the fake quote that came out the other day that much more, that the way this all happened. I mean, that stuff.
I've heard that quoted and cited on the radio as being a fact.
Yeah, people need to figure some stuff out, man, because that's bad. But and you need to stop putting stuff out there like that. I mean, how stupid are you? I mean, that's just straight stupidity.
Let's just make up some quotes.
Fantasyland. I only make up quotes whenever I need something to write. Actually, I've never done it. Swear to God, never done it. But no, I mean, I think another way to look at the Monken thing too is, he did leave Southern Miss as head coach at Southern Miss just to go coach in the NFL. I believe he became receivers coach.
Yeah.
He's only
he was a coordinator though.
Oh, was he a coordinator? Okay.
Yeah.
But then also I think it's maybe one and some change years that he's ever called plays in the NFL.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think he was the coordinator, but I don't think he was calling his own plays.
Yeah, most of the time he spent with Dirk Cutter was not actually calling plays.
Man, I bet that was just an electric room at lunchtime.
Most of the time I spent with Dirk Cutter as the head coach of the Falcons was pure misery. So,
was he the head coach of the Falcons or just the?
I think. Oh no, he was just the OC. That's right.
Yeah. Was he not any kind of interim at some point?
I think he might have been an interim. I think that's possible. I don't know, man. It sucked, whatever it was. Anytime he was there, I mean, just sprinkling just misery all over.
But I mean, I do think, the Ravens job is probably the most appealing job. But, folks, I don't think we need to forget that John Harbaugh was almost on his way out. Like, that staff was almost let go before Lamar Jackson got hot, before Lamar Jackson kind of became a guy.
And is the job that desirable without Lamar?
No, I don't. Not when you got to try to find a quarterback.
Exactly. That's my point.
Not when you're picking where you're picking in the draft.
Yes.
I don't see it.
With Lamar, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you can do, especially Todd Monkin. Imagine translating over some of the things.
With Lamar, I don't think it's a debate. I don't think.
Now here is a question: Could the Ravens try to package some stuff up? Maybe Lamar Jackson as a part of the package and trade up to go get a quarterback.
I mean, they couldn't really make Lamar Jackson part of the package, could they?
No,
is he a free agent, or is he?
I think he's due. They can franchise tag him, but I think that's it.
Yeah, and that's a astronomical
$45 million. I think was the 45 million was the franchise.
Yeah, they may not be able to afford Todd Monkin after that. When I look at what Georgia did last year, though, and I know these are two different sides of the ball, but when you replace all that NFL talent that no one thinks you can replace and repeat and win a national championship again, and then you do it the way that you did it, I'm not going to doubt Kirby Smart and his staff and his leadership replacing a coordinator. I mean, that seems like it might not be something that would just derail Georgia's program if he were to leave, just because I think Smart and his staff have already set the precedent. This is a machine that is rolling along, and one person leaving or 15 people leaving not going to derail us.
Are y'all a little bit surprised that this is the first? I mean, aside from Buster Faulkner leaving his analyst position and a couple strength staffers and offensive line guys, that this is the first real scare that Georgia has had with an assistant coach.
Cortez Hankton left
this year, though.
This year,
right.
According to Bama fans, Glenn Schumann signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah, well, some of them think that. Some of them, that Todd Grantham rumor is really picking up some steam. Seems like, Lord, especially Todd talk. I don't know, not really, Palmer, because so I don't think anybody's offering Glenn Schumann a head coaching job just yet. Not a big school quite yet. We haven't heard about that. And obviously a head coaching job is what it is. Will Muschamp's had his shot at becoming a head coach. He's not moving up. Where else do you want to become a position coach? Other than Georgia. I think it's such a destination job for guys that are in their jobs that they're eventually going to leave. But
about guys that are not coordinators, position coaches that could become coordinators, say, and I know these two guys are young in their careers, but Chidera and Fran moving on to become coordinators eventually. Trey Scott.
Yeah, Trey Scott, man.
Todd Hartley at some point is probably going to have some people knocking on the door.
One thing you don't see a whole lot though is you don't see tight end coaches become OCs.
True.
You don't see not a lot. I mean, I think James Coley did it, but usually a guy will flip over and coach quarterback.
Dan Campbell.
Yeah, Dan Campbell.
Wasn't Chaney coaching tight ends?
Yeah, but I mean he had coached quarterbacks a lot in his career. Right. He got moved to coach tight ends after he coached quarterbacks initially at Georgia. You also don't see a lot of D-line coaches become defensive coordinators. And honestly, if I'm a great D-line coach, I mean, I probably want the challenge of coordinating my own defense at some point, but those guys get paid so much. Those guys and offensive line coaches get paid so well that, I mean, you want to talk about a cush job, worrying about your guys, worrying about recruiting your guys and building connections. Trey Scott could have the easiest job in America right now because the talent is starting to kind of flow to him. There's a point, I don't care who you are, you don't have to work as hard for it anymore. It's kind of like skinny dudes and good looking women, I mean, it's, you just walk in there. Like, I think Louis C.K. had a joke about walking in there with your Adam's apple. Yeah. It's a great joke. If you've never heard it, listen to it. It's awesome. It applies to West. That's about it. But yeah, what you want just kind of comes to you. And Trey Scott can sit there and make 600 and 650 and nickel and dime Georgia, 25, 50 grand at the time, get up to about $800,000, $900,000 a year, win a lot of titles, put a lot of guys in the NFL.
The bonuses that come with winning titles and stuff.
Look at Rodney Garner, man. He's made a hell of a career for himself, no question.
Called a defense, I think, for one game, and that was him and Todd Hartley worked together on that one in that Independence Bowl.
Last thing on Monken before we get to signing day. This is a good transition. A lot of the speculation about why Monken would leave is that it's just easier in the NFL where he doesn't have to recruit as much, but he's kind of one of those guys too. I mean, he doesn't have to go out and recruit a ton. It seems like he's got a pretty sweet deal with Kirby Smart, and Smart still expects him to get out there and do that a little bit, but I don't believe he has a burden on him, at least not optically, to go out there and beat up the recruiting trail like a lot of other coordinators do.
No, I would definitely agree with that. And Matthew C., I said on the board, I think it was him the other day, that, this is just 4D chess again. He's going to be able to interview with these teams, come back to Georgia, get a fat paycheck, and then say, hey, guys, the NFL came calling. They wanted me, but I'm here, and this is where I want to be. You can see that they think that I can develop guys. Let me develop you. I don't know that all that's happening, but the pitch is not unreasonable to me.
Hey, listen, a few years ago, when Todd Grantham and they had all that speculation, and I believe it was the Eagles or somebody that was open, and people were kind of talking to him, and that's when Georgia fans wanted to hold on to him and thought he was really good. It was after the 2012 season or something like that. Carried it as 2013 class, guys. That was a disastrous class. Took every mid-year they could possibly take because their numbers were shot.
It was a black stain on Georgia recruiting.
No doubt. I am almost positive, and when I say almost positive, I'm positive that Todd Grantham tried to kind of play that card. Like, I think he tried to kind of, I think he would have taken a job like that, but I don't think he ever really stepped up and struck down the rumors because he wanted that as a recruiting pitch, and that is a recruiting pitch. Hey guys, NFL wanted me. The NFL wanted, loved what we do here so much that they tried to bring, take some of our staff. And we didn't want that because we want to coach players like you. Telling you, man, it's sometimes some of the cheesiest stuff you can think of actually comes to pass in the whole area of recruiting. And it's just kind of like, hey, what gives you an edge?
Well, anyone who's seen Nick Saban dancing in his living room doing the cha-cha slide or the electric slide or whatever he's doing.
Well, I mean,
get it.
along the point of Todd and his recruiting, and we don't know when exactly the Ravens interview was, but he was in Connecticut recruiting Ryan Puglisi on Friday.
What if Kirby was sitting outside the office? Hey, yeah, Todd, going in there. I'll wait on you.
We'll keep the car warm.
He definitely wasn't sitting outside.
He was gonna talk to Mike McDonald.
Kirby's standing outside the office. He's probably in there breaking down some film. We visited with the Ravens yesterday.
Just burning a heater outside of the office.
Walking around like Matthew,
checking his watch and drinking a Starbucks.
like Matthew McConaughey in True Detective. Just